Welcome to Online Drawing 3. Today is the first lesson, and we're going to be talking about color theory and working in charcoal and pastels. And first I want to talk about what complementary colors are, because the materials that we're going to be working with today are complementary colors, and they have a particular relationship on the color wheel, in that they're opposite one another. So for instance, orange here is opposite blue on the color wheel. And I'm including orange elements and blue elements, but they have a variety of relationships, because some of them are pastel colors, like this is a pastel color that's orange, and this is a pastel color that's blue. So that while sometimes we're going to be using the full strength color, which is out in the outside edge, sometimes we're going to be using colors that are mixed with white. And in addition to which, there is another color relationship that's happening excuse me, in my still life, which includes the neighboring color. So for me, the small saucepan is not just orange, it also includes red orange and a little bit of red. So it's veering off in the direction of red. In my complementary relationship, the thing that would balance that is the piece of fabric that is veering off in the direction of blue-green. So what you will find is, while this is the main color relationship, and we have things that are true orange and pastel orange and true blue and pastel blue, we also have what is referred to as the tertiary. The opposing tertiaries here are red orange and blue green, and those are just touched upon in this composition. So I'll put this to the side. My plan is to lay out a horizontal composition. I'm going to make a few marks with my pencil, very, very lightly, because the pencil stops the pastels from grabbing on. I've chosen an off-white piece of pastel paper. You may be working with a gray from the previous class or a white sheet from your sketchbook. Whichever, you may want to start with just a few outlines, not very much pressure, with your pencil. Okay, so that's my line drawing. And all of my objects are either symmetrical or semi-symmetrical. It includes this handle and this handle, but everything else is man-made. And so I can look and see whether or not it's the same when I flip it over. And one of the ways to correct a line drawing is to flip it over and see whether or not this side and this side curve in the same way. So I need to maybe smooth that out a little bit. I look at how this line compares to this line, how much I see inside this one compared to this one, compared to this one, compared to this one. And it makes me realize, as soon as I look there, that this has to be open. It's a deeper ellipse than this one, but not as deep as this. The other thing that I can do right now is to make a notation of anywhere where there's going to be a thickness, a lip at the edge, just like there's a lip at the edge here, and a lip at the edge here. I'm going to start with adding the highlights so that I don't cover them up with my pastels inadvertently. So the first ones are the ones on the tallest object. So those were all the highlights, and now I'm going to do the main shadow. And there's also a piece of fabric in mine that goes diagonally across. So I'll draw that here. Now, in order to make a pastel version of orange, you would add white to orange. I can show you that here. And you would get a kind of a pastel color. However, in the set that I have, it also has this sort of pastel coral color, which is very close to the color of my bowl. So I will proceed with that. Now under the rim, there are some shadows. So I'm going to go under here. It also would help if I knew how dark the background was going to be and how dark the foreground is going to be. So before I do the second tall item, I'm going to put in a value, and because this is a complementary color drawing, I'm going to put in a color that is somewhere between blue and orange. So now it's easier for me to figure out how dark this picture over here has to be and how bright the highlights have to be. Notice that the white acts as a blending stump. I have not yet picked up my my blending stump yet. So you can do a lot of that just by adding white. Greener to balance out the extra red in the pot. I add blue for the shadow because when you mix blue and orange, it becomes a darker, duller version of the orange. Because there's a black rim, I'm going to be putting a rim around the top. With the pale blue cup, I'm going to start with white, so when I add blue to the top, it won't sink into the fibers of the paper. For the darkest color, I'm going to add this orangish brown, which is called burnt sienna. Now at the end, I have to clean up some of my excess pastel marks. I can also add shadows if I see them. Adding a little black and blue. And now just a touch up on the underside of the pale orange object, because where it touches the table, it's going to be very dark. And sometimes I use an eraser in the 11th hour to kind of pare down the edges of things. And so I'm just pulling out a little bit of the thickness in this far rim. And if I turn it to the side, one last time, I can try to make sure the ellipse matches above and below. And it's just darker in the foreground and a little paler, thinner in the background. All right, so it's time for you to get started. Have fun.